Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is part 5 video on .NET 7 Web API and VueJS CRUD sample. So previously we have implemented read operation right? Like fetching the data from the server and binding using our VueJS. Now let's try to implement the create operation. Means we are going to have a create endpoint as well as we are going to create a add form in our Vue.js application. Okay, so first let's create the create endpoint in our API project. Okay, now let's create one more action method. And we are going to create a new record, right? So I will name it like post, just convention. And to invoke this endpoint for the post request, we must decorate with the HTTP get. Okay, so HTTP post, so that this action method can be invoked only by the post request headers. Okay, and this action method should contain the payload because we have to create a new record, right? So let's define our input payload parameter. Okay, or I can name it like new beach. Okay, and import the beach namespace. So now what I can do, I can use my DB context beach dot. Here you can find a method like add method. So to that add method, we have to pass our payload, nothing but our new each input parameter. Okay, so what it will do means this record will be attached to the DB context. That means the state of the DB context is modified as add. Okay, so whenever the state of the DB context is changed, and immediately if we call save changes method, then whatever the state is updated or changed in the context will be saved against the database after calling this save changes method. Here we are changing the state of the context and calling the async method. Whatever the change is applied to the context will be generated as a query and it will be executed against the database. Since here it is add, right? That means it will generate it as a insert query and executed against our database. Okay. Finally, I can simply return OK, and you can pass same payload in the return response. And in the return response, you can see the beach have parameter, right? Like ID value. So initially it will be 0 because it is new record, right? So once it is updated into the database, automatically the ID will be updated in the context as well. Okay. So confirm whether our record is created or not. In the response, you can see the ID value. If it is not 0, if it contains some value, that means the record is inserted into the database. Okay, that's it. We are done with our endpoint creation. Okay, if you save and check our Swagger page, here you can see new endpoint is created with the post, HTTP post type. Okay, now we have to consume this endpoint into our Vue.js application. Okay, now let's create new component, Vue component inside of the beaches folder. Okay, so let me create a new component like add beach. So our goal is to create a form inside of this component. So that form help for creating the new record. Okay, so initial steps, script and template, and since we are using composition API, right? I have to use setup attribute. Okay, now I have a new component. Now let's register the routing for this new component. For that, I can go to the index.js file in my router folder. Here, I can copy this and duplicate. Okay, I can give like name like any name you can give. Okay, And here I have to define the path. So I will define a path like add. Okay. And here we have to map the component. So we created a new component, right? So let's duplicate this import. And my new component is add beach. Okay. So let's map this component for this route. Okay. Now here, let's try to create the add form. Okay. Let me add a container div and also add some margin top. Okay. And next, let me add a form here. So let me add a form here. Okay. And let me give heading like add a new item. Okay. So here, let's add some fields. Since we are getting data like beach place, beach name, and images, right? So let's add three fields here. So for that, let's go to Bootstrap website. So go to the documentation, docs, and here look for the forms here. Okay, go to overview. Okay, and from here, let me copy this field, one field. I am copying one field from here. Okay. Okay, let's do some modifications here. This must be, I need every input type must be a text only. Okay, I don't want this additional div label is enough. Okay, so let me duplicate it two more time. Okay, and here let's do some modifications. So this is for beach name. Okay, and let's give appropriate IDs. Text beach name and give for label for. Okay, this is for location. Okay, txt location. Okay, and pass this to id, input field id value. Okay, and now here let me give image url, txt image url. Okay, and give it here. Okay, and let's check whether we are able to get this add form in our application or not. Okay, so here is my application, right? So to see that add form, I have to navigate to add. Okay, so here is our form. And I missed the button. Let's add button also here at the bottom. Button like add. And I type give like it is a form, right? Let me give form submit and provide some bootstrap classes btn and btn primary. Now let's check the output. Yeah, we are getting button as well. Now we have to add some component level logic, right? So inside of the component on form submit, I need to execute a API call. My post API call we have just created, right? We have to invoke this API call on form submit. So for that, let me create a method here. Okay. I will use arrow function way of method writing. Okay. I will name my method like add a beach. Okay. So here I want to invoke my post API call, right? So Axios, since it is a post, right? If you call recall beach list, for get we have get method. Same way for post we will have a post method. Okay, and make sure to import the axios here. Here it is automatically imported for me. If it is not imported automatically, make sure to import it. And here I can pass same URL, same URL only, right? You can check here, same URL. But request must be post request. Okay, and it will contain, this post method should contain the payload. But where is the payload? Payload is our form data. That means we require to create the payload. So for that, we are going to use model binding. VueJS supports model binding. Okay, so that we can read form data very easily. So for that, what I will do, I will add one variable here like beach. Okay, previously to maintain the state and render that state data into our component HTML, we used ref, right? So here also you can use ref, but each variable we have three form fields, right? So we have to create three variables, three ref variables. Okay, like this. So what I want to say means I have beach name, location, image URL, right? So beach name, location, ref, initial value empty, empty, and image URL, ref, empty. Okay, I have created three variables. So these three variables must be mapped to our form so that we can implement the two-way model binding. Okay, so to implement that, we have to use vmodel. Okay, to that vmodel, we have to pass this variable. Okay, like this, we have to bind. But instead of creating individual ref variables, okay, this is fine approach only. There is nothing wrong with this approach. Okay, but we can do little better. So what we can do means instead of that, I will create a variable like single variable like new beach. I will use instead of ref, I will use reactive type variable. Okay, so this reactive also loads from the Vue.js. Okay, I can use this reactive. So what is the benefit of this reactive means I can define the object like this. Okay, so here I can give my payload property name so that same properties I can bind it to the UI. So these payload properties I will take it from here. So the whatever the property names you add here, make sure to give the property names of our payload. Here is our payload, right? Just give these names. Okay. The next place. And what is another property? Image URL. I can ignore the ID value here. If you want, you can give because it is always zero, right? So I am ignoring that ID value here. Okay. Now we have to map, right? So remove beach name. I can directly use beach name dot see. Automatically it's showing vmodel vmodel it is place. Same way for image URL also we have to map model binding. So here it will be image URL. Okay. So whatever data we entered here into this form field, it will be stored into this new beach object, React to variable type object. Okay. So here I can simply pass new beach as my payload. Okay. So on success, okay, once data is posted, my API call is success. I want to navigate back from my add form to my beach list. Okay. I want to navigate from this component to this component. Okay. So to navigate from one component to another component, we can use. So let me declare one more variable. Okay. So one thing here we have to remember, always the React to form variable always use let. Don't use constant. If you use constant, the data won't be updated. Okay. So router, I can use router. If you see, observe this use router comes from the view router package. Okay, now I can use the router variable. So here router dot push. To this push, you can specify the whatever the route path you want to navigate. I want to navigate back to my home page, right? So I can give simply slash that represents my home page. Okay. Okay, now we have to invoke this add beach method on submitting the form. For that, I can use @submit, and I don't want to reload the page. Okay, for that I can use dot prevent. Okay, general nature of submit is it will post the data and it will also reload the page. Here preventing the page reload. And if you observe here $-event, so this is a normal just convention. Okay, after that arrow you can call our method. So add beach. Okay, you can remove that $event or you can add if you want arrow function, or you can directly give the method name like this. Okay, so that's it. We are done with our uh, add beach form, but we have directly navigated to add, right, add page, but we have to programmatically navigate. That means from home page we have to navigate to our add beach component. So for that, what I have to do, I have to add a button inside of the beach list. Okay, so here let me add a row and let me give margin top some 2 pixels. Here let me add a column where I want the content should be centered. Okay, so I can use MD4. So let me add a button here. Instead of a button, I can use router link and I can display it as a button. Okay. Okay. And for that router link, so this is a view router default component for navigation. What it will do means it will render as a anchor tag. Okay. I want to go to add, right, add route. So to the two attribute, you have to pass your path. Okay. It will be the add button name, and I want to display it as a button. For that I can apply bootstrap classes. Okay, okay, that's it. Let's check. So let's go to home page. Okay, now here we can see the add button. If I click on this add button, see, I navigated to my add form. Okay, so let's populate our form. with a new item. Okay, here I have added some dummy data to create as a new item. So let me inspect element to check the network call. Okay, and now if I click on add button, I must add the new item to my server, and after successful add, I must redirect back to my home page. So I am clicking on the add button. See, I redirect back to my home page, and here you can see new item is added. This is the new item we just added. If you check the network call, the first call is our post call. See, and request method post. And here you can see the payload we are passing. And in the response, we can see ID value is coming. That means that record is successfully saved. Okay. On redirecting back to my home page, again our get API call invoked, and here you can see my record, and that record is rendered here. So that means we are successfully done with our create operation. Next, we are going to focus on update operation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like my video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel as well as liking the video. Soon we are going to meet with new content. Until then, signing off.